Hey folks, this is Kelani. It turns out that we gathered together these awesome artifacts of power to not only defend Azeroth against the Legion, but to strike back and ultimately stop Sargeras and his burning crusade. Sadly, Sargeras still manages to inflict untold damage to our world by plunging his Sword of Darkness straight into Silithus. That obviously presents a significant problem, and our current solution is to sacrifice our grand weapons of lore to draw Sargeras' corruption out of the wound in Silithus. For one reason or another, this renders our artifacts unusable for the next expansion, which is a fantastically convenient way to get us back to hunting for weapon drops instead of relic drops. I hope you're all ready to pick up those questing greens and all that jazz, but some of these artifacts are surely more powerful than the others. Some artifacts are just special daggers, which once killed a king. Others happen to be powerful in their own right, but still nothing entirely too special. But there are a few which, when I look at their backstory, lore and potential power, make me think, should we really be giving up these artifacts? Surely we can just use a few extra pirate swords or flaming greatswords and Azeroth would be fine, right? Let's have a look at the 5 most powerful artifacts that we're currently wielding and why we would be crazy to give them up. First up, we have Restoration Druids and their precious druidic staff, Gahan the Mother Tree. The Mother Tree was first created at the dawn of the Ordering of Azeroth. To help nature thrive on Azeroth, Titan Keeper Freya created a mystical realm, the Emerald Dream, which was to be an unspoiled vision of nature, undisturbed by the forces of evil. She began by creating a single massive tree high atop one of the peaks in the dream. That tree was Gahan, the Mother Tree. From it bloomed many different fruits and flowers, and it held all the seeds of the Azerothian trees. As time passed, many creatures in the dream called Gahan home, but none other was tied as closely to the tree than the wild god Aviana. Her spirit became entwined with the Mother Tree, which would ultimately lead to disaster. When Aviana fell in the War of the Ancients, so too did the Mother Tree. The shock of Aviana's death reverberated through the dream, and all the leaves of Gahan fell from their branches. The Mother Tree was dead, but one branch remained, which was discovered by the Green Dragonflight, a single branch with a single acorn hanging from its leaves. Alexstrasza took that acorn and used it to grow Nordrassil, the World Tree. Resto Druids are wielding the last branch of the first tree that was created in the Emerald Dream. A single acorn from your artifact weapon grew into a World Tree. Before it fell into the hands of our heroes, the branch was used to stabilize the Emerald Dream, and its power was so potent that its influence would be felt far and wide. The area around the branch was a place of great healing and peace. Not only is this artifact the last piece of the great tree that Freya created so long ago, but its power is anchored so deeply in the Emerald Dream that even though we cleanse the nightmare, getting rid of the last branch of the Mother Tree might cause the dream to become unstable. Not to mention that we're drawing Sargeras' corruption into a weapon we had to cleanse before we could even wield it. What could that mean for the Emerald Dream, and what shockwaves would we feel across Azeroth? It just doesn't seem worthwhile to give up such a powerful artifact. On a bit of a different note, we have the Elemental Shaman's potent artifact, the Fist of Ra-Den. This artifact can channel the power of storms and was created by Aman'Thul himself. It was bestowed upon the mighty Titan Keeper Ra, and he used this gift to decimate the armies of the old gods, as well as give birth to new forms of Titan Forged, such as the Mogu. After the old gods were defeated and imprisoned, Ra and his Titan-forged Mogu began their long watch over the southern reaches of Azeroth. After the Pantheon were destroyed, Ra became depressed and retreated into the catacombs beneath the land to meditate on what the Titans' deaths meant. Sometime later, the Mogu was struck by the Curse of Flesh, which turned their powerful Titan-forged bodies into that of flesh and blood, and the Mogu soon began to war amongst themselves for control of the lands. Throughout this time, Ra remained silent and dormant, until Lei Shen confronted him beneath the land. Lei Shen realized that the Keeper had given up hope, and if Ra would not continue the Pantheon's work, Lei Shen would do it in his place. He stole Ra's power, and the Fist of Ra-Den, then bound the Keeper in great chains. Lei Shen would go on to rule the Mogu kingdoms as the Thunder King, using the powers he had stolen from Ra. Even though he had taken the Fist of Ra-Den, Lei Shen was never able to fully wield its powers. The Thunder King could not control the Fist of Ra-Den. The only being to have ever existed which could control this artifact is the High Keeper Ra himself, and now obviously every shaman who decides to roll elemental, but that's besides the point. One of the strongest Mogu to have ever risen to power was incapable of controlling this artifact, and everyone else who tried was struck down by lightning. The artifact was actually used to power the Thunderforge because its power was too great for Lei Shen, and the Thunderforge provided his Mogu armies with amazing weapons and armor. So even if we didn't wield this artifact ourselves, keeping it unspoiled and untainted could yield incredible results if we put that power to another use. Wielding this artifact, Ra actually managed to subdue Alakir the Wind Lord, so being able to call forth powers over the storms which not only rivals the Wind Lords, but which ultimately surpasses them, it's an artifact that I wouldn't ever want our heroes to part with. It's simply too strong. An artifact which just had to be on this list is Aluneth, the Arcane Mage's Staff, which contains a powerful arcane entity. The staff is named for the entity. Aluneth was first discovered by the Blue Dragonflight ages ago while they were playing about with the fabric of reality. They accidentally discovered another realm of existence and made contact with the strange arcane entity. Seeing as they loved magic and mysteries, and causing all sorts of trouble around them, the Blue Dragonflight summoned Aluneth into the Nexus, where it promptly went on a rampage. After containing Aluneth, they performed various harmless experiments on the creature, and after they satisfied their curiosity, they sent Aluneth back to its own realm. Fast forward a little bit, and we come upon one of the most powerful Night Elf sorcerers to ever walk the land, Mitri. He learned from a blue dragon about the other realm and the arcane entity who resided there. He managed to create a connection to Aluneth and drew upon the powerful arcane entity to increase the strength and potency of his own spells. After the Sundering and arcane magic being outlawed in Night Elf society, Mitri abandoned his home and became a recluse. We don't really know what happened to him after that, but his scrolls and texts were the basis for modern magic. His scrolls and spellwork would educate fledgling magi for centuries to come, but no one seemed to know anything about Aluneth. Until Aegwynn. She hunted for information about a greater power, the sources of Mitri's real magic. Eventually she came upon some lost scrolls which talked about Aluneth in great detail, and instead of tapping into the entity's power as Mitri had before her, she summoned Aluneth into Azeroth and attempted to bind it to her will. Eventually she succeeded in containing Aluneth inside an enchanted greatstaff, the one we carry today. Aluneth is so powerful that in her fight against the avatar of Sargeras, Aegwynn first opted to wield Aluneth against him, but Aluneth would not comply. Only after the entity resisted her commands did she fall back on Atiesh, Greatstaff of the Guardian. If her first choice was Aluneth in such a crucial battle, surely that means Aluneth is more powerful than Atiesh, which has been passed down from Guardian to Guardian. That staff is legendary, and Aluneth is arguably more powerful. Even though we might not have bound the entity entirely to our will, it seems happy enough to aid us in our efforts. Why would we want to give up Aluneth? How about Khadgar gives up Atiesh to heal Azeroth in our place? Apparently we have the stronger staff anyways. Turning into a raven at will isn't even that cool. Now, we're kind of skipping way ahead when it comes to power and potential here, but I don't think any Shadow Priest in their insane mind would willingly hand over Xal'atath, Black Blade of the Empire. Where the previous artifacts were incredibly strong, Xal'atath is just ridiculous. The amount of chaos and turmoil the Black Blade has caused throughout history is kind of crazy. It almost drove the trolls to extinction when an outcast witch doctor used the blade to revive a servant of the old gods, Kithix. The Cathraxi rallied other old god minions to its side and brandished Xal'atath to create death and destruction wherever he roamed. Eventually Kithix was brought down and his armies were defeated, but the Black Blade haunted the memories of those who survived. It also appeared to the Dark Iron sorceress Modgud, who used its incredible power over the shadows to assault Grim Batol, but the blade actually abandoned Modgud before the end, leaving her to die screaming about promises made, assumingly by the blade. This artifact has a mind of its own, and it's not really a mind we should be delving too deeply into. Its origin is unknown, but the entity within is either an old god or one of their servants that possesses incredible power. How it became locked and contained within a dagger also remains unknown, which is quite troubling itself. If the old gods destroyed Xal'atath in their conquest for domain, how did part of her remain? In an odd twist of fate, it seems like Xal'atath actually had more freedom than the other old gods after the Keepers were done imprisoning them. That freedom was what allowed the blade to pass from hand to hand throughout history, twisting and turning anyone who came into contact with it, creating wars, reviving the old god's minions, driving countless mortals insane. Now, our heroes wield this power, and while it might seek to destroy their minds and turn their bodies to the void, being able to siphon pure void energy from the blade is something a powerful Shadow Priest just isn't going to give up. They have a direct connection to a creature that is linked to their source of power, and besides, if we gave up Xal'atath, who else would fill our minds with senseless prophecies and predictions that are obviously meant to screw with our heads? And when it comes to arguably the strongest artifact that any of our heroes currently wield, Destruction Warlocks take the cake with the Scepter of Sargeras. By all rights, we probably shouldn't even be using this artifact. The only saving grace is that us hunting down the Scepter of Sargeras means we take it out of the hands of Gul'dan, which is kinda funny. The artifact quest involves us gaining the trust of the Shadow Council enough that we're able to take up the scepter and cause a whole bunch of chaos right in front of Gul'dan while he tries to empower the portal in the Tomb of Sargeras. To stop the ritual, we open portals to unleash Fel and Shadow magic upon the entire Shadow Council. All those portals you see in the sky are from the scepter, and that's just a fragment of its true power. After Sargeras was pushed back in the War of the Ancients, he demanded that his Eredar create for him an artifact that would tear apart the fabric of reality and allow him to open portals to wherever he wanted. That artifact was the Scepter of Sargeras. Sargeras used the scepter to open up many small portals to slowly but surely weaken the walls of reality. He couldn't open a portal large enough for his entire form to pass through, but he could open smaller ones to allow slivers of his soul to infiltrate Azeroth. He managed to open a portal large enough to send his avatar to Azeroth, which did battle with the Guardian Aegwynn. Although his avatar was bested in combat, while wielding the Scepter of Sargeras, the avatar was able to create an opening for a shard of his spirit to infiltrate Aegwynn's soul. This scepter was what allowed Sargeras to start corrupting Aegwynn and then Medivh after her. The scepter would then be locked away in the Tomb of Sargeras until Ner'zhul's underlings plundered it for their master. Ner'zhul used the immense power of the scepter to punch hole after hole in the fabric of reality, shredding the seams which connected Draenor to the rest of the physical world. He created what we know as Outlands, and he used the Scepter of Sargeras to do it. The scepter was also used by Kil'jaeden when he was attempting to enter our world through the Sunwell. Thankfully, we were able to stop that thanks to the embodiment of the Sunwell itself. I don't know if anything else could have prevented Kil'jaeden from entering our world, not while he had the Scepter of Sargeras in hand. This staff is just too powerful, it has too much potential. Heck, the active ability tears open a hole in time and space just so we can assault our enemies with extra Fel or Shadow missiles. That can't be good for the universe. We shouldn't really be wielding at all, but if our Warlocks have managed to master its power and can stop themselves from destroying absolutely everything around them, I'd much rather it be kept in their possession than risk it landing in anyone else's lap. I also don't really like the idea of absorbing the corruption of Sargeras into the one weapon that could easily free Sargeras from his current imprisonment. If this thing can open up as many portals as the wielder desires to almost anywhere in the cosmos, that seems like something that should be kept as far away from anything related to Sargeras as possible. Either way, do we really want to give up the Scepter of Sargeras? It might come in handy when someday, I don't know, the Void Lords start knocking on our door. So, what do you think? Are there more powerful artifacts we shouldn't be giving up? Do you think one of the other artifacts should be on this list? Leave all your thoughts in the comments section below. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.